Hi, this is VJ Slate with Stop Smoking, Stay Quit. Smokers don't plan to fail, but they fail to plan. Think about when you started driving. I was 16 years old, very awkward. I didn't know whether to step on the brakes, step on the gas. I almost put us into the ditch, but boy, very quickly we become an automatic driver. Now you can drive, you can drink your coffee, put your mascara on, and watch the road without even thinking about it, right? But what if you went to your doctor and your doctor said, you've got to stop driving today because it causes cancer, emphysema, heart disease? If you'd be like me, I would go into an absolute panic. Well, how am I going to get home? How am I going to get to work tomorrow? How am I going to get to the grocery store? How am I going to live my life without this car that I drive all the time? And yet, if you think about it, if you had some time, you could make a plan. You could get a taxi. You could ask your neighbor or your friends or family to drive you to the store. You could get the bus route and figure out how to get to work on the bus. You could ride a skateboard. You could walk. You could drive a plane. You could get on a train, a plane, take the subway, take a bus. There's a lot of different options out there. But at first, you're going to go into a panic. And isn't this the same way with smoking? When you first started, wasn't it awkward? You didn't know what you were doing. You got dizzy, you got lightheaded, but you kept it up. And now you smoke without even thinking about it. Some of you, I'm sure, even have 2 cigarettes going out the ashtray at the same time, and you can't even remember lighting them up. But smoking has become totally automatic. So to be successful, we want to create a plan. But to know where you need to go, you have to know where you're at. And so what you want to do is you want to do a tobacco use record. Every time you smoke a cigarette, what you want to do is write it down. Now, in my book, we have a little tobacco use record that you can cut up into little squares, and each one of these will fit in your cigarette pack. So what you want to do is write down what time is it and what are you doing, and then the most important part is to rate it, 1 to 5. You know, a 1 cigarette is a know-nothing cigarette. I call it the movie cigarette. You know, it's the one you have right before the movie. You don't really need it, and you know the reason why I know you don't need it? Because you had one on the car on the way over to the movies, right? But you got there early, so you went outside, you had a cigarette, because you knew you were going to be in there 2 hours without one. That's a 1. Now, a 5 cigarette is the one that you really, really want. It's usually like the one in the morning or when it's been several hours and you haven't been able to smoke. The most important part of this exercise is to rate that cigarette. Because I know at the end of the day, you could sit down and you could write down every time you had a cigarette. But that's not the point. What you want to do is you want to figure out what are your most important cigarettes. We smoke for a lot of different reasons. Sometimes we smoke out of stimulation, but we also smoke out of boredom. Sometimes it's for relaxation, for the sensual pleasure of holding that cigarette and inhaling that smoke. Sometimes it's out of stress. Sometimes it's just a physical craving. And oftentimes it's just out of habit. It's because we're having a cup of coffee, we're driving in a car. So we need to do a plan. We need to know where you're starting from. And doing a tobacco use record will give you a lot of tips. Now this will do a couple things. First of all, you'll naturally cut down. When you go to rate the cigarette, now do this before you smoke it, you'll think, I don't really need this one. It would be a 1, and you won't smoke those. You know, you don't have to give up all 20. You just have to figure out the most important ones. For more tips on how to create a plan, check out my book, How to Win at Quitting Smoking. It's available at Amazon.com. Look for the bookseller, Stop Smoking, Stay Quit. Have a joyful, smoke-free day.